Naniniwala ka ba na lizards na ang namumuno sa lahat ng major governments ng mundo? O kaya sa kaisipan na buhay pa ang ating pambansang bayani na si Jose Rizal? At lolo siya ng isang tumatakbong presidente sa eleksyon? O kaya sa conspiracy na may malaking kayamanang nahukay ba ang mga ninuno ng Marcoses kaya sila yumaman? Is the earth round or flat? You are not alone. And we don't believe in any of those, but yes, you are not alone.
While chismis reigns public discourse this election period, conspiracy is the silent devil on everyone's shoulder that in its own weird and wobbly way tries to make sense of the chaos that is happening in the world. Now, is it bad? Or is there anything we can take away from it?
Sabi nga ni Lana Del Rey, there's nothing wrong contemplating God under chemtrails over the country club. Ngunit, meron bang nahaharian o nagjojos-josan sa Pilipinas? Is there something in the air besides love? May country clubs pa pala?
All will be revealed in due time, which is about now. Kabataan, it's now time to get your X-Files, Twilight Zone, Gravity Falls, and Stranger Things fixed right here. Now, Youth Talk.
How do I reconcile my loved one's political
How do we
differences?
campaign in a
How do
pandemic?
we engage our
How
candidates?
do we
What
talk
if
to our
I
community?
don't like my elected officials?
How do you respond to respect my opinion?
It is now time for the voice of the youth to be heard. Now, Youth Talk.
Kabataan ang maririnig, katotohanan ang mananaig. Oras na tayo na, boto mo'y mahalaga. Kung hindi ngayon kikilos, kailan pa ba?
Magandang araw, hapon o gabi mga kakatotohanan, mga ka-truth, mga truthers out there. Mula sa bilog nating mundo, this is Aliyah together with Rod hosting this very special episode of Now Youth Talk 2022's most important conversations discussed.
All right, you know the drill, kids. For these special episodes, we're flipping the script with a special letter sender. Yes, dear viewers, at this critical time when we have to make the most critical decision of our upcoming 6 years, sadyang hindi na mapakali ang ating letter sender sa nakikita niyang disinformation sa larangan ng social media at mga chikahan in real life. So, Aliyah, I would like to ask you something now before we begin. What's a significant piece of disinformation you've encountered? Sige, I'll start muna before you say anything.
Sige.
One piece of disinformation na matagal ko nang nakikita yung all major governments in the world have been replaced by lizard replicants. As in, sobrang popular conspiracy theory nito sa US. As in,
Yeah.
from the president down to the senators, they aren't even
Mga-
human daw.
Oo nga eh. Ano kaya? So, lizards na talaga sila. Well,
Yeah.
ang funny talaga nun. Pero ako, ang pinaka-major conspiracy theory na naririnig ko is yung Earth flat daw. Flat ang
Ayan,
Earth.
yung
So,
flat earth theory.
Pag nag-ano ka, nag-boat ka hanggang dulo, malalaglag ka na, ganon.
They say may katapusan daw yung mundo
Oo.
physically. Pero sige, siyasatin natin, kilatisin natin, saliksikin natin. Let's look into the deep and rotten roots of disinformation and let's learn how to address it together.
Yes, that is right. So our letter sender is eager for us to hear the truth. So let's put on our thinking cap and let's get right into it. Anong katotohanan, Katkat?
Our letters in this series come from a mysterious Katkat. Now, our friend has a lot to say about the state of information in the country. Here's the gist. We don't know that much about her, but she says all will be revealed in due time.
Yes, very mysterious ang si Katkat na yan. She's also captivating, and she's here to shed light on the truth. Kasama ni Katkat, alamin natin ang katotohanang tinatago ng kasinungalingan.
Alright, this special episode series would not be possible if not for the vital support given to us by Facts First PH. Join more than 100 groups, coalitions, media, civil society organizations, business groups, the church, research groups, and legal organizations that are working together around a first-of-its-kind initiative called Facts First PH. Hashtag Facts First PH brings together various sectors that are committed to promoting the truth in the public space and exacting accountability from those who harm it with lies. Ask us through our email address to know more about this network.
Yes, kaya sa ating mga listeners dyan, send your letters to us, and because we love mail, so bukas na bukas ang ating online mailbox at secretariat.nyv@gmail.com. Sumala sa ating chikahan at isa-isahin ang ating mga dapat pag-usapan this 2022. Ayan, so, right, ready na ba tayo? Ready ka na ba, Rod?
Ready na. Ikaw, Alia, ready ka na ba?
Yes, let's start.
Alright, begin transmission. We have Katkat's second letter right here. Mas nagniningning ang bituin sa madilim na gabi. Walang Darna kung walang Valentina. Walang bida kung walang kontrabida. Pero paano kung wala ka namang mortal na kaaway? Say no more, di gumawa ng sariling kalaban.
Kaya ako mamatay, mahulog yung eroplano, utang ina. I am very happy. Alam mo bakit? Sabi ko, without declaring martial law, I dismantled the oligarchy that controlled the economy of the Filipino people. Ganon sa ko. Hindi kami. Nagpapakamatay na itong mga sundalo ko na para sa kanila. Just to prop up a government. Yung gobyerno ko, na useless naman kung nandyan sila. Kaya ako, kung mag-decide kayo na tanggalin ako, mas mabuti. Kasi ayaw ko maghawak ng gobyerno na wala akong magawa. May mga batas kasi. Pero ito, 2 years ipitan ito. Ngayon, after 2 years, pagpaalis ako, wala pa ang nangyari. Alis ako. At least nakita na ninyo. Bahala na kayo. Bahala na kayo. Hindi ko na... Yung sinasabi nila na si Duterte, hindi straight man, masama ang bumaka na magmumura. Oh, totoo. Totoo. Totoo kasi galit ako sa inyo. Kung anong pinagagawa ninyo sa bayan.
Hanap sa linyahan, pang-action star. Smashing the oligarchs? I like it. Count me in. But wait a second, this can't be real. How can President Duterte be a true anti-oligarch when in fact a new class of oligarchs prospered from state deals and concessions during his administration? This is not Spider-Man versus Green Goblin. This is not Darth Vader versus Emperor Palpatine. Or King Kong versus Godzilla. Duterte did not destroy the Philippines elite. He chose his own cronies. As proven in our module on peace and security, and on transparency and accountability. Several oligarchs stood to the benefit to Duterte's administration, such as the UAs and the various corporations. Tilang kumakalam ang mga sikmura natin pag naaalala natin na 'di ba mas yumayaman ang mga businesses na billionaires and mga owners all over the pandemic. And yes, sa mga dear listeners natin dyan, habang lugmok tayo sa gutom at kamatayan for 2 years, for sure komportable ang mga billionaires natin, di ba?
Sobrang komportable. Now, this raises the question, is there a golden candidate unbeholden to any conflict of interest? Baka pwede nyo kaming tulungang maghanap dito, friends. Kasi the rot of patronage politics runs deep in our system. Sistema ang problema. Hence, we have to think decades forward in engineering a Philippines without the padrino system. Maaring may magsabi na may benefits ang pagkakaroon ng political dynasties o ng friends in higher places. Pero bear in mind that a government cannot function in its best form if there are conflicts of interest. Laging magkakaroon ng opportunity cost o merong mahirap na taong magbabayad sa ginhawang mararanasan natin under patronage politics. So, ekis na tayo dyan, friends.
Yes, X na talaga. So, balikan ulit natin ang letter ni Miss Katkat. Okay, sabi niya, ginamit rin ng dating diktador na si Ferdinand Marcos ang pagsugpo sa mga oligarko bilang dahilan para maipatupad ang martial law. Pero ang dating oligarchy, pre-martial law, ay napalitan lang ng mga kaibigan at kamag-anak ni Marcos.
Sabi na nga ba, napanood ko na to. Sequel lang pala ang Duterte versus Oligarchs kuno. Dahil sa totoong buhay, Rise of the Duterte Garks ang naranasan natin. In short, conspiracy theories lang o mga naratibong walang basehan sa realidad.
Ito pa ang ilan sa mga nakita kong conspiracy theories na nagkalat sa social media ha. At ito ang mga nakikita natin at usually talagang medyo controversial siya sa lalo na ngayong kasaysayan natin. Okay, so first is yung Yamashita Treasure. May alam ka ba dito, Rod, yung mga sabi-sabi about the Yamashita Treasure and everything?
I have seen a couple of YouTube videos pero para sa benefit ng ating listeners, why don't we give them the proper details?
Yes. Okay. You can start it off. Siguro may mga alam ka ba na dyan, info or napanood mo sa YouTube?
Napanood ko sa YouTube, basically lang Yamashita Treasure daw tinatago ng Marcoses since the 70s. And these are billions of pesos na tinago sa taong bayan. And it could be, pwede hanapin ng isang tao daw. Napaparig ko sa mga YouTube videos. Like, if one person finds it, that's like the ultimate jackpot in this country.
Yeah. Okay. Meron rin akong naalala, parang sabi na, yung mga Marcoses daw, hindi nila binalik yung 22 billion, yun kasi yung parang worth at Yamashita Treasure. 22 billion worth to Rojas. Kasi wala naman daw talaga yung treasure. Or wala naman talaga sa kanila yung treasure.
Right.
Ayun. And meron pang isa, yung sa PCGG, parang they created, si Cory yung gumawa nun as a revenge. So the Marcoses were not able to properly explain their alleged ill-gotten worth, quote-unquote, since they were excited. They were exiled to America. Diba? So the Marcoses are the real victims talaga, hindi yung mga Aquino. So medyo,
Ayan. Sige. I'll give another conspiracy
Yes.
theory na sinisirang kasaysayan ng Pilipinas.
Yes. Pero yung mga sinabi natin, Rod, kanina, parang yun nga, since conspiracy theory siya, it doesn't mean na totoo siya. And it is not true, actually. Kaya nga
Yeah.
siya theory. And ang dami, sabi-sabi, yun nga yun. So, just
Yes.
to clarify sa ating mga listeners dyan, na baka isipin nyo, totoo yung mga sinasabi na naman kanina. Pero yun lang yung mga sabi-sabi sa YouTube. Yeah. Okay,
Ayan.
go on. Yung sabi mo
Just like what
kanina.
Aliyah said, these are all conspiracy theories, no? Ito super recent lang yung Taliano Gold. As in recent memory ko lang siya narinig. So, here are some key details on this conspiracy theory, no? These gold bars were passed down by the Taliano royal family to the Marcoses and are the source of Marcoses' wealth. Hence, they did not need to steal anything because they were already too rich.
Ture.
So, Moving forward,
Oh,
these
well.
gold bars will be given to the Filipino people in the right time, also called as wealth for humanity, because these will be able to clear out Philippine debt and save all Filipinos from poverty. According to
Grabe.
former World Bank employee Karen Hoods, some of these are hidden in banks in the Philippines and abroad. And the mob during EDSA revolution had stolen from the Marcos family when they attacked the palace and their mansions. They are the real victims, so it is really unfair to call the Marcoses thieves. Grabe, so binaliktad talaga yung buong script
Yes.
no?
And people actually really believe this, no?
Mm-mm.
And, ayun, parang, kita mo naman na ang dami talagang sabi-sabi na nakikita natin online. And, a lot of people absorb this and believe this.
Mm. Grabe, no? At some point, these aren't even conspiracy theories anymore. You could say na these are all, politically driven. They are all
Yeah.
like revenge stunts na in some way. But yeah, that is Taliano Gold. Do we have any other conspiracy theories?
Okay, next up naman, Rod, we have yung Bagong Lipunan lore.
Alright.
Bagong Lipunan was a patriotic song written by national artist for music Felipe Padilla de Leon in 1974. The lyrics was made by Levi Celerio. It was made a compulsory hymn to sing after the Philippine national anthem. So the ideological roots of the Bagong Lipunan or New Society concept can be traced to one Marcos rationalizations for the declaration of martial law in September 1972. In his rhetoric, Marcos contended that a system of constitutional authoritarianism was necessary in order to quote-unquote reform society and create a new society under his authority. So 6 years after the declaration of martial law, Marcos adopted this rhetoric and used the phrase as the name of the umbrella coalition of administration parties running in the 1978 Philippine parliamentary election. The coalition retained the name when it was recognized as a political party in 1986. So yun yung Bagong Lipunan lore. Galing siya sa kanta.
I'll be honest, this is the first time I've actually heard of this Bagong Lipunan lore to create a new society. No, it's so strange na they made this and you have to sing it right after the Philippine national anthem. But like, what's the point of
Yeah.
doing that if we already have the national anthem to begin with?
Exactly, diba?
Pero it's so scary, no, to think na they made the song and they requested the people to sing this for a new society, no? And from what I know, it's being played din sa campaign rallies ni BBM today.
Really?
Yeah.
So, until now, ginagamit pa rin nila to.
Yeah. Only for like Marcos supporters. So, if I may ask, no. Grabe, actually, hindi ko na lang itatanong. I'll just share na it's so frightening to imagine na Marcos really is trying to change Philippine culture and not just the Filipino people.
Yeah.
Even with
Yeah.
these small details, no?
Yeah.
All right. Sige. So
Okay,
so viewers, yan po yung Bagong Lipunan lore and I'll share another conspiracy theory to you guys.
Okay.
Lenny konektado daw sa CIA. Okay, this is gonna be very good. Let's get on to it. So, Filipino-American supporters of Vice President Maria Leonor Lenny Robredo are allegedly behind efforts to undermine President Rodrigo Duterte. Leaked emails posted online by bloggers showed. So, the leaked emails, first posted by the Thinking Pinoy blog on Friday, showed exchanges between members of the Global Filipino Diaspora Council or the GFDC, including billionaire philanthropist Loida Nicolas Lewis and her sister, former Commission on Filipinos Overseas Chairwoman Imelda Meli Nicolas. Both are Bredo supporters. Filipinos have now taken over the role of the CIA as agents in the destabilization of their own government. It seems that a certain shady group known as the Global Filipino Diaspora Council, or the GFDC, is the new CIA. So, the buzz started among bloggers known to be pro-Duterte and gained traction when no less than the Palace Communications Secretary picked it up for his podcast. Vice President Leni Robredo is supposedly conniving with the United States-based groups to oust the president. The basis of their allegation? Parts of an email thread on Yahoo groups that one blogger was alerted about and which another blogger was able to preserve through an archiving service. But we have to take note the original thread could no longer be accessed online. Anyway, neither Robredo nor any of her staff was part of the thread. In a report by Rappler's Lian Buwan, legal and policy expert Tony Lavinia makes the distinction. Sedition is a call for an illegal act. There was no illegal act being called. To call for the president's resignation is a free political exercise. And he added, this is a product of a wild and active imagination. It's adding a plus when there's nothing there. If somebody files a case, it would not even pass the Secretary of Justice. And true enough, the Justice Secretary, President Duterte's appointee, said the speculations are not worth probing. At least 3 cabinet members also said they had more important matters to take up in Malacanang than this destabilization plot that Secretary Andanar wanted on the agenda. And these are all from Lian Buwan and Rappler.com. So, even with all the details na minention natin, no?
Yeah.
At like the very core of things, paninira lang talaga siya eh. It sounds so ridiculous and yet they still went with the story just to make Leni Robredo look like she is totally against the Duterte administration, diba?
True. And nakaka like gulat na meron talagang people who would go that to that extent just to destroy her. Like, wow.
Wala eh. We were living in the Duterte era for so long then, and anyone who dared went up against him, diba, automatically kaaway na ng state at ng Senate.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's that conspiracy theory.
Yes, and ang dami nating napag-usapang conspiracy theories, no? Pero now the big question is, how do these conspiracy theories gain any traction? They sound so out of the world, diba? Na walang dapat maniwala sa kanila. Pero maraming naniniwala sa kanila.
Yeah.
A 2018 paper by Vosugi, yan, Roy and Aral studied over 126,000 rumor threads on Twitter, consisting of an original tweet and its retweets, to see how true and false news spreads differently. Grabe, pinag-aralan nila yung ang galing.
We have to. We live in a social media age where information is free, whether it be factual or false, diba? But anyway, to understand why these false news spread so quickly, Vosugi's team looked into novelty. They selected Twitter users and ran an algorithm comparing the content and topics of false tweets a user was exposed to with all the tweets the user was exposed to before.
After applying another algorithm to assess tweets for words associated with emotions, they found that false tweets were characterized by more feelings of surprise and disgust, which set the tone and appeal of these tweets apart from average news.
Right. People may therefore feel compelled to share fake news because it contains information that they think others do not yet know. This was confirmed in a study by Penny Cook from the year 2017, wherein people expressed more willingness to share novel news over familiar news. So trust your credible sources, friends, but always remain critical. The point in being critical is that our agency as consumers of information must take precedence over our feelings over a topic. And share ko lang, Aliyah, no, before we get back to the letter, we
Yeah.
actually ran a quick study on this. As in, ano siya, personal study lang amongst
Okay.
neighbors and friends. So what we found out is that some of our friends, colleagues, or neighbors or whatever, whenever they try to share something on Facebook, they don't even know if it's real or not. Automatically, they assume that it's real just
It's
because
real.
it's already on their feed. So that's the thing with the Facebook algorithm nowadays. People immediately assume that whatever is being fed to them, that's the real deal because it's on their
Yeah.
feed. That's why we have to be very poignant and very responsible in letting our friends know that they have to check their sources. Because
Yes.
essentially, Facebook is a rampant site of disinformation, no? We are very fortunate na yung balita sa mga accounts natin ay filtered, no? They are very factual. Because we are, as media students and graduates, are well versed in speaking the truth. Pero yun nga, in essence, we have to let others know that not everything they see online is the truth.
Yes, exactly. And it's really parang something na makikita mo na kaya sobrang bilis magkaroon ng fake news or kumalat yung mga chismis. Kasi, yun nga, what is being fed to them is what they believe it's true. So, that's why, yeah, we should really be cautious sa ating mga listeners. Check your sources, check everything before sharing. Ayan. So, going back, we will read on sa ating, we will read on sa sinad ni Katkat. Mahalaga ang kasaysayan dahil nagbibigay konteksto ito para maintindihan natin kung anong nangyari. Kaya nandito tayo ngayon at kung saan tayo pupunta. Kumbaga, magulong panoorin ang Harry Potter kung sa Order of the Phoenix ka nagsimula.
Very true.
Pero, pero di gaya sa pelikula na pwedeng gawan ng iba't ibang bersyon. Kailanman hindi dapat baluktutin ang realidad, ang kasaysayan, dahil mga totoong tao, ang mga totoong buhay ang nakasalalay dito.
That is, grabe, sobrang deep ng sinabi mo ngayon lang. You know, like as a film person, kasi, yeah, you could make different versions of films, pero you can't make different versions of the truth. And the
Wow,
truth
that's
affects
nice.
so many people's lives, no? Kaya, ganun
Yeah.
kabigat ang facts. So, that's the truth from Katkat, folks. Hindi lang ito simpleng conspiracy theory na may supernatural element sa ating society. These conspiracy theories are distortions of our history. Sabi nga sa Ang Babae sa Septic Tank 3, walang ibang version ng history. Ito ay pawang katotohanan. Lagi mang inaabus ang mga salitang history is written by the victors. It certainly does not apply now, lalo na't meron tayong malawak na academic community na pinapatatag ang history natin. Pero, isa lang naman akong hamak na fact checker. Sabi ni Katkat. This is still a
Okay.
continuation from her letter,
Okay.
ano? Pero isa lang naman akong hamak na fact checker. Hayaan nating manggaling mula mismo sa mga batikan at certified historians ang anomalya sa ating kasaysayan ngayon. So here's a soundbite. Sabi nga ni Professor Xiao Chua,
after EDSA Revolution. Ano ba yung kapalpakan? Bakit hanggang ngayon hindi tayo maunlad bilang isang bansa? Di ba? Saan nagkamali ang demokrasya? Ngayon, ang demokrasya sinisisi. EDSA Revolution ang pagkakamali. Di ba? So, ibig sabihin, hindi lang teacher ang may kasalanan, hindi lang education system. Yes, marahil kami ng problema. Pero mas malaking problema na hindi natugunan yung injustices ng lipunan, kaya iba na ang pananaw nila sa kasaysayan. May ganon din yan. And then, syempre, of course, malalim na problema dahil hindi lang naman yan dahil sa edukasyon. Organized po ang distortion ng kasaysayan.
Organized.
May pera sila. May pera sila. May algorithms. Yun nga, sabi mo nga, ipakain. Di ba yung term mo, ipakain. Pinapakain talaga ng todo-todo at may pera sila to boost boost their tsaka yung clickbait, at alam nilang gamitin yung rhetoric of division, no? Yun ang problema dyan.
We've mentioned in our episodes on historical distortions that the key to effectively fighting the years regressed by historical distortion campaign of the Marxists has not actually been found. What we can really truly rely on now is the fact that we have to act fast. It is very important that initiatives like Facts First PH are bolstered with policy and execution, such that disinformation peddlers are rendered powerless. Sabi naman ni Professor Ambeth Ocampo, soundbite.
And that's one of the things that history teaches you. It gives you a built-in shit meter, di ba? So you know when you know bullshit when you see it. And fake news is not new. We've had that for thousands of years, no? And it's just that you have to know. And for me, the best example is getting to know something well. My example is always a soft drink. Let's say you're used to drinking Coke. They give you a Pepsi, no? It's the same color, it's fizzy, but when you drink it, when you put it in your mouth, you know immediately it's not the same. Diba? So it's the same process, no? So the internet is can be both good and bad depending on how you use it.
All right, and that was from Professor Ambeth Ocampo. If I may ask, no, Aliyah, ikaw, ano yung batayan mo for finding out how things are true or false? Is it the same as what Professor Ambeth Ocampo's shit meter?
Actually, ang batayan ko if how things are true or false is hindi siya sa kung saan madaming naniniwala or parang kung saan, alam mo yun, yung kung saan, kunyari, syempre sa family mo, isipin mo kung naniniwala din ba sila. Pero yung basis mo of truth is proven by facts talaga, which is talagang nakikita mo and naramdaman ng ibang tao. At the same time, yung sources mo, pinagdaanan siya ng isang organization, hindi lang siya from a person. Actually, as a communication student, yun din yung tinuro sa amin na kaya yung mga, kunyari, rappler or mga news, mga naglalabas ng news, kaya credible yung sources nila kasi pinagdaanan siya ng process. May pinagdaanan silang fact-checking and everything. Unlike from a person lang who would tell a news. Parang medyo hindi siya filtered, hindi siya dumaan sa proseso. Kaya yun, parang mas naniniwala ako sa mga bigger companies or yung mga credible sources natin online.
Sobrang ganda ng insights mo, Aliyah, no? If I may, I'll also pick up from what Professor Ambeth Ocampo said. So, he said na ang ganda kasi ng analogy niya with regards to drinking Coke and Pepsi because you already know how Coke tastes like. It's fizzy. It's Coke. Like, I don't even know how to describe it anymore. But, when you're given Pepsi, diba, you immediately know na something's may off siya eh. They are so similar, pero you know it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's
Kahit
not
lagyan
Coke.
mo ng Coke yun, pero Pepsi yung nasa loob. Alam mong iba.
Yeah, may difference pa rin. So, what Professor Ambeth Ocampo essentially teaches us is that the more we grow up, magkakaroon talaga tayo ng built-in shit meter with regards to history. So, it really is up to us whether we will continue peddling fake news. Kasi gaya nga ng sabi niya, you know bullshit when you see it. Especially through experience, diba?
Exactly.
You already have that ingrained. So, it really is up to you if you will continue to share factual news or not. Kasi you have it in your head na eh.
Yeah.
You
Meron
know...
kang sariling discernment eh. Meron kang sariling
Exactly.
prinsipyo eh. So, you would immediately know it then.
So that's what Professor Ambeth Ocampo said. And if we may move on to another soundbite, no? This is what Professor Gio Giang has to say naman.
babalik ako doon sa ano doon it's unanimous opinion na they should have taken the bull by its horns noong 1986 pa lang, na ipinasok na mismo sa policies ng DepEd yung detailed education of the abuses that happened during the time of the martial law. Meron na, I'm not saying na completely absent. Meron. Pero kasi sa mga reviews ng mga textbook, may nakakalusot. Pro Marcos pa nga not coming from the education perspective. May mga textbooks na ang trato sa Fifth Republic, which is include sa Third Republic, which includes martial law and Marcos, is ano yung nagawa ng presidente, ano yung program, sino yung presidente, ano yung nagawa niya. Yun na yun. Yun na yun. Wala na, nasa table, then memorize mo. So, na-reform yung mga textbooks at some point, pero may mga nakakalusot pa rin historical inaccuracies, and hindi tama yung interpretation sa historical facts, hindi ba? So, ang daming factors when you talk about historical amnesia coming from the perspective of education is ano yung naging pagkukulang ng sa education system, or to push it further, what is the quality of teacher education? Bakit may mga nakakalusot na teachers na pro Marcos, AP teachers na pro Marcos, tas minsan troll pa?
Yeah.
Diba? And kung gusto mong sagutin yan, marami ding factors. Pwedeng may vested interest yung teacher na yon, di ba? Pwede siguro. Or pwedeng misguided.
All right, so that was the soundbite, no? As in, he really went into... Basically, he said na dapat inayos na natin lahat ng mga bagay nung 1986 pa lang.
Yes.
Like, dapat inasikaso na yan ng DepEd way back, as in 3 or 4 decades ago.
And hindi daw ma-misguide talaga. A similar policy was undertaken in Germany, where mentions of their World War II atrocities are taught in schools, while outright nationalism is discouraged. The insignia of the country and its former flag is illegal to be displayed anywhere. Germany recognized that it was the darkest time in not only their history, but also of the nations it affected. So, according naman dito, anong sa tingin mo, Rod? Like, what about here in the Philippines? Ano ang sa tingin mong tinuturo sa schools natin about this martial law?
I'm actually very thankful and fortunate enough to have studied in universities, no, where we also had essentially the same policy as the one in Germany. I was taught at a very early age that there have been several crimes on humanity during the martial law era. And that's why growing up today, I know what's real and what's not, and we should not commit the same mistakes that have been made from martial law. So, going back to the question, I think our universities are doing a good job naman. Pero I could only say for at least the National Capital Region. No? I am not sure if the same studies are being undertaken in other provinces. But I hope sobrang factual pa rin naman ang pagtuturo sa mga kabataan today. No?
I hope. Kasi there are a lot of textbooks rin citing how Marcos was still a hero despite having that martial law. Kaya I hope schools are doing their jobs. Kasi ako personally, if I ask my relatives about it, there's a lot of good things that they can say about martial law, which ako personally medyo nalin lang na ako at the first time as a first hearer of experience mo. Anong experience ba talaga ng martial law? Pero if you learn about those other people who were affected drastically by this martial law, malalaman mo talaga medyo selective talaga eh. Hindi naman lahat yun eh. So, ayun.
Totoo naman. Totally relatable. So, what happened back then are facts now. Ang torture na ginagawa sa mga aktivista at dissenters noon, kailanman hindi madidisprove na anecdotal evidence ng lolo or lola mo na ikay tahimik daw na panahon ng martial law. Blood was spilled and people went missing. That's a fact.
Yeah.
No amount of discussion on its positive effects, if any are even existent, will water down the blood on their hands. So here's a soundbite from Professor Richard Bulisay.
Hindi tayo nagkulang sa pelikula, no? Hindi tayo nagkulang sa mga pelikulang tumatalakay sa atrocities ng martial law at ng panahon na yan. May Batch 81, may privileged spaces, or pag nag-college na sila, or baka nga kahit nagtrabaho na sila, or unless film major ka, nag-aaral ka ng pelikula. No? So we need as elementary school, no? Foundational, formative. Kasi yan yung panahon na yung ating, pag-absorb ng mga bagay ay mas matalas, no? Talas of this, no? Talagang pag matanda ka na, no? Parang hindi dahil mahirap nang mabago ang pag-iisip mo, pero parang mahina yung pagkapit kasi nga hindi siya galing sa formative stages mo, no. Tapos tingin ko factor din yung mga cronies, no, yung mga people in power who are supportive of Marcoses. They only care about themselves, they only care about wealth and money. And so because they're put in a position of power, they control decisions in our society, whether they're politicians, businessmen, educators, no. If you don't have much at stake, no, I mean, if you benefit from supporting an evil person, I don't think you will care for the people around you who are, who do not benefit from it, no, na mga oligarchs at mga, mga pro-Marcoses. That says a lot, unfortunately.
Totoo po yung sinabi ni Professor Richard Bulisay. He's also, I mean, I'm not close to the guy, no, pero I've always looked up to him as a filmmaker. Hindi talaga nagkulang ang ating artistic sector sa paglahad ng mga kamalian ng martial law. Indeed, period. However, why do such discussions trying to dispute the violence of the era still persist today? We go back to our soundbite from before. This is an organized effort, decades in the making. And if I may add to what Professor Richard Bulisay said, fake news still persists today because of generation gaps and because of the insanely rapid advancement of technology and the social media, in essence. Kasi how we think and how we operate right now, the generation below us will no longer be the same. I mean, diba,
Yeah.
do you notice? Like,
Ibang-iba na. Yeah.
Here's a very easy example, no? Millennials and Gen Z pa lang.
Yes, yes.
Ang intense na talaga ng gap eh. So I can't even imagine the difference from Gen Z to Gen Alpha. We have a responsibility. Like, okay, fine. Generational differences aside, the facts still remain that we have to let the kids know how to discern fact from fiction. That's all
Yes.
it is, really.
Tama. That's a nice insight about it. And we read this report by Regine Cabato, and I quote, I spend a lot of time on the pro-Marcos alternative universe on TikTok, consuming Yasi Field Imelda fan cams to unhinged reader ex Sandro Marcos fan fiction for this report. I hope you give it all a read. The Marcos revisionism project can be traced to the 2000s and has now spilled over beyond Facebook to TikTok to YouTube and even Wikipedia. Some stuff we have discovered mentioned in this report.
Estimated salary of a troll network moderator who writes the daily script or talk points to defend their political client, that ranges from 40 to 50,000 pesos or $700 to $800 monthly. A micro-influencer with only 10,000 followers can earn 300 to 350,000 or even upwards to 5,000 US dollars, including bonuses, on a monthly retainer during election season.
Wow.
A job offer a source received stipulated 25 to 30,000 pesos to manage a Facebook page with higher pay if they spoke in Ilocano. Grabe, no? So like, kung may 10,000 followers ka pala, at least, pwede ka na kumita ng isang
Yeah.
milyong piso in 3 months of spreading disinformation. What do you have to
Yes.
say about that, Aliyah?
Tempting, but no.
Yan. Yun na yun. Okay na yun.
Yeah. Alam mo yan, syempre, sa mga TikTokers natin dyan, ang dami nating millennials na TikTokers, guys. If you would do this and it's against your principles, and it should be against your principles, no? Wag na. Madaming opportunities ang dadating sa inyo if just don't.
Yeah.
Ayan. Moving on, the portrayal of the Marcos millennial heir and congressional candidate Sandro as a TikTok heartthrob is a deliberate branding campaign meant to cement the dynasty's future among Gen Z and future generations. Pro-Marcos propaganda is well-oiled machine, and it is most likely running on taxpayer money. The Marcoses have denied using troll farms, but the data, academic research, and first-hand accounts from digital networks, strategists, and experts are clear.
In the film The Kingmaker, Imelda Marcos said, "Perception is real, the truth is not. We should reject and resist this. Let's not leave all of Philippine history to be rewritten by a minute on TikTok." And that's the end of transmission from our friend Katkat.
That was the message, and now it is time to pass it on, mga kaibigan. I hope what Katkat shared today fueled you to vet your sources well and consume media mindfully. Para makatulong sa ating pagsisiyasat para sa katotohanan, here are some guidelines para sa inyo on how to spot and address disinformation online and in your community.
All right, so the first guideline, keep critical. Keep critical. While today's culture of conspiracy is fueled by a long and brutal campaign to discredit our mainstream information providers, there is something essential we must extract and bring to light in this new practice. Always remain critical of the information you receive. Check your sources as well as your sources' sources. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina, diba? Na you
Tama.
may be
Oo.
receiving the truth, pero kung yung kapitbahay mo hindi, edi siya na yung maling marites, if that even is a thing.
Yeah.
So differentiate between primary sources from while the event was happening, secondary sources processed from after the event happened, and tertiary sources written with accounts about the event.
Yes, that is right. That is number 1. Again, keep critical. So for number 2 naman, guys, ito, remember the 3D. 3D. Discredit and deplatform disinformation. Discredit and deplatform disinformation. Disinformation peddlers have to be neutralized. If in social media, refrain from giving them any traffic or metric screenshot the disinformation, and refrain from sharing, quote, tweeting, liking, or replying to them. It has been revealed that many studies that social media algorithms cater strongly to disagreements and the polarization of people of opposing opinions. Iwasan ang mag-away-away dyan, ha? Let us always go back to starting constructive conversations. So this is all the more reason for us to start conversations on the ground. Without the help of the internet, disinformation spreads into communities with impunity. Consider spreading materials that counter and discredit information and strengthen the narrative of truth. That leads us to our final tip for today.
And our final tip for today, amplify. All right? That's amplify. We cannot claim to be experts in every field, nor do we want to. Let's foster this culture of critical thought by sharing the truth in any way that we can. Our letter sender Katkat will be sharing materials you can share with your community on ground. And so again, no, before we close out this session, how do we fight disinformation in our own way? If I may, I don't know, share how I do it. It's much better talaga kung one-on-one siya. I
Yeah.
always call out my friends or colleagues or whatever if I see them sharing fake news on FB or whatever social media website. I-DM ko yan agad. Kasi that's the immediate way you could tell someone na, yo, what you're doing is wrong. And but
Yeah.
I am here to help you fix that. So how about you,
Yeah.
Leo? Ano yung approach mo?
Well, that's nice. Kasi 'di ba most commonly mistake ng ibang tao, they would comment dun sa fake news, making it more amplified. Yun nga, mas nagiging pa siya, noticeable. And yun, I battle like fight this information in my own way through same with you. I confront those people who share fake news, especially yung mga ka-close ko lang, hindi lang naman like random people. Uy, mali yung news mo. Pero yun, those who, you start with your own circle. At the same time, you would check your sources muna din talaga. Yun, check your sources and your sources' sources.
Right.
Yan. So, ngunit pawang mga letra lamang si Katkat at kami ang mga boses lang ngayon. Ngayon, kayo ang magiging katawan niya sa pagsusulong ng katotohanan sa ating komunidad. So, mga listeners, we are counting on you.
We are now at the tail end of our discussion. And while we close out our episode for today, may paunting plug portion muna tayo. So, ayun nga guys, no, if you guys have been following this series for quite a while now, once again, my name is Shep Rod. You guys could follow me on Instagram at shep.rod. And please do follow our YouTube channel, like and subscribe to our videos. We have an upcoming video where it's politically driven. We have invited guests to vote for we invited guests to vote for their next president. Pero may twist siya. It's a game, and that's what the video is gonna be. So how about you,
Wow.
Aliyah?
So me, just follow me guys in my Instagram account, Aliyah Denise _ and if you want to have open conversations about politics and other things, I'm also open to that. Just one DM away. Yan, pag-usapan natin yan. So, this is a special episode series and it would not be possible if not for the vital support given to us by Facts First PH. Sabi nga ni Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Ressa, so who will you vote for if you don't have the facts? And how many times have you been attacked online because you challenged a lie? You are not alone. To protect our elections and our democracy, we need to protect the facts.
Join more than 100 groups, coalitions, media, civil society organizations, business groups, the church, research groups, and legal organizations that are working together around a first-of-its-kind initiative called Facts First PH. Hashtag Facts First PH brings together various sectors that are committed to promoting truth in the public space and exacting accountability from those who harm it with lies.
Ask us through our email address to know more about this network. And that's our episode, folks. We will see you out there and join us in our series of episodes as we read each of Katkat's transmissions of truth.
Ngayong 2022, ang panawagan ng Now You Vote ay kabataan ang maririnig, katotohanan ang mananaig. It's time to exchange your views and knowledge with your peers, engage your communities and candidates for a meaningful change beyond the ballot, and commit to your right to suffrage as your vote defines the Philippines of our generation and maybe the next.
Bukas na aming online tanggapan for youth activation sessions and resources to help you make your big decisions and to nurture your important conversations. Email us at secretariat.nyv@gmail.com. And you can also join our Discord server, makiugnay, makipagtalakay at magboto. Kasama ang inyong kapwa kabataan sa discord.gg Now You Vote Hub.
All right, so this has been your host, Shep Rod, together with my co-host, Aliyah, reminding you to participate in 2022's most important conversation and to make your 2022's biggest decision on May 9, 2022. Good evening, guys, and see you next episode. Bye-bye.